If you think your business is worth a lot, you're probably going to be offended what I'm about to say. Because most business owners fall in love with their business just like it's their baby. And nobody likes being told that their baby is ugly. But if you want to exit your business in the next 24 months, or even just get to the place where the business can run without you, then I just feel like you need to know the truth, not a story that someone's been telling you or you've been telling yourself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a very simple plan over the next 24 months to help you create an exitable business. It doesn't mean you have to sell, although you can. What it does mean is that you can build an asset that's going to run without you. And how do we know this works? Is because we work with over 2,400 businesses for over a decade. We track real numbers, profit and loss, balance sheet, 13-week rolling cash flow forecast. We're not guessing. We do that every month. So we know deep because we co-pilot the business. Here's what we're going to cover. We're going to diagnose where you're undercooked. We're going to explain actually what drives a valuation in business. We're going to walk through the 3 drivers of an exitable business. And I'm going to show you the 4 exits. And most importantly, the leverage line. You're going to love that part. We're going to fix the ownership problem that makes you the bottleneck. Now, if you want the diagnostic worksheet on this, then grab it in the link below. Most businesses are undercooked. And here's the first reality check. Most businesses feel successful, but they're not exit ready. Like there's enough revenue coming in, but just not enough for you to feel safe. Now, exit ready also doesn't mean that you're selling the business. What it means though, is you've built something that isn't dependent on your nervous system. And what we do is we use a diagnostic that scores your business across 10 very specific areas. And that's going to determine your exit readiness. Now, your score from each of these areas goes from 1 to 10 in each of these areas. And they're very clear definitions. There's no vibes. It's a specific criteria. And what you do is just add it all up and it's going to give you a total score. And that total score is going to see how exit ready your business actually is. Now, let's jump in and let's go through the 10 areas. We're going to use a workbook, part of workbook that we use with our members. So if we have a look at here, we've got 10 areas here, from financial performance, recurring revenue, owner dependency, management team, systems and documentation, customer concentration, differentiation, cost structure, buyer synergy story, and exit planning. And as I go through, you can use the exact template that I've got here. There'll be a link for you to download that, or as you hear me listening and watching this here, just score yourself and write down each one of the scores. Okay, so let's talk about this first one here, talk about financial performance. A low or a poor score is in financial performance, I've got very lumpy cash flow, or the cash, or I'm negative in my cash flow. That would be a 1. A 5 is I've got solid growth and I've got consistent profits. And a 10 is I've got strong multi-year growth. So what you want to be looking at and go, okay, cool, where do I fit right now? And let's say in this example here, someone says that they're a 6. So they would be going, right, I'm a 6 on here, and they'll score themselves a 6. All right, we've done that one there. Let's talk about the next criteria. Let's talk about recurring revenue. So each businesses have different business models, but one of the things that we know is the more recurring revenue that you have in a business, then what happens is generally the bigger the valuation. Case in point, let's say you're a real estate agent and you sell properties, but you've also got a rent roll. If you look at the valuation of a business like that, so business that most people are familiar with, you're not going to get a lot for the sales department, but the way you get the value and the valuation of the business will be very much largely built on the rent roll. And the reason for that is because when people want to buy a business, they want to have the predictability of the income that's coming in. So recurring revenue is a really important piece. It's also something that we see a lot of people miss in a business. I literally had this week a meeting with a software company, and they have 7 products, and one of them was in the maintenance category. And I was like, what's happening with there? And what's the profitability of that? Profitability was 60%. That was gross profit in that one area. I'm like, okay, well, what are you doing around that? Well, we don't do anything on that. It was like, it just happens randomly. I'm like, okay, big deal. That, by the way, is a massive deal. So most businesses that we know, there's a way that you can build some form of recurring revenue. So an example here is one-off projects, like I was just talking about that my software friend had. And then the other end of the spectrum then is, okay, majority is locked in contracts. So what you're going to be thinking in this category here, where do you see a fit? Are you a one-off projects? Significant repeatable income is a 5, and then a 10 is I've got locked-in contracts that are either many months or even years. Okay, in this example here, I'll put a 10 on this one for this example. Owner dependency. Owner is involved with everything is a 1. 5 is the business runs with limited input from the owner, and a 10 is it runs wholly without the owner. Okay, so where are you going to score yourself? And on this example, I'll say a 7. And so, cool, we've got a 7 on this mark here. All right, so they're going through the first 3. I know, sit with me on this, just hang with me on this, because it's worth going through. A management team. Again, don't beat yourself up. If you can look at these and you go, oh, I don't have that. It's fine. This is all about clarity, because when you get the clarity, you go, oh, that's what I need to work on next. So look at your management team. I don't have much of a management team. There's nothing much going on there. It's really you, what we call like the guru with 1,000 helpers. 5 is you've got a capable leadership team, and 10, we've got a strong self-managing team. That is, you have a EOT or an executive leadership team that are running the business, and your job at the 10 out of 10 would be you coach your leaders. So unless example here, say someone's a 5, and they give themselves a 5 on that there. Systems and documentation. A 1 is it's mostly locked in your head and other people's head. 5 is that most functions are documented, and a 10 out of 10 is the business is fully documented. I'd say most businesses that we see are not nearly cooked enough, and I'll give it a 4 out of that one there. Customer concentration. Again, there's some really good numbers on this one here. It's got a few big clients, is a 1. 5 is a well-balanced client database, and a 10 out of 10 is a diverse client database. Now, let me give you a parameter on this one. A well-balanced, which is a 5, means that no one client takes up more than 15% of your revenue. If you've got a client or a customer that makes up over 15%, then you're under a score of 5, just to be really clear on that one there. And I'd say that a lot of people that we see have a much higher concentration. Sometimes it can also not even be a concentration of their client database, but it could be their referral source. So they've got one big referrer, one big partner that just sends them all the leads. That also would be put on there of a customer concentration issue that I would say as well. So I'm going to say for most people, I put that down as a 3. So let's score themselves a 3 on that one there. Okay, let's go to the next one here. Differentiation. How different is your business compared to the other ones that are out there? How well, when people are looking at what you do, are you more on the side? If you look down here in differentiation. So if you're down in this area here, generic or copyable, that just means at that point there that it's very easy for someone to repeat what you're actually doing. So you become a commodity, and you don't want to be because that's in that category, because that's usually a race to the bottom. A 5 is clear competitive edge, and then 10 is unique IP based. And I'll say in this example, this company is a 6. Next one here is cost structure. It's high or inefficient. In other words, your cost of goods sold is so high, your expenses high, your margins are tight. Like I see a lot of people come to us and they got margins that their profit margins are like 10% or below. It's like that is a world of pain. Then costs are under control is a 5, and lean benchmark level, and that is you got a high profit margin in your business. On this example, I'll put a 4. Buyer synergy story. No clear vision, so that when people come to you, they're not really understanding the journey they're going to go on. They don't know their customer journey as well. And 5 is clear synergy points. They know exactly where on the customer journey, and also it's clear and it's mapped. Is a 10 out of 10. I'd say most people that I would see before they work with us, they're sitting down kind of like in the 3 category in that one there. And then let's get into the last part, exit planning. Some people are amazing in this, usually 1 year before they need to go, which is way too late, but there is no plan. Number 5 is I have an initial plan in place, and a 10 out of 10 is I have a 2-year plan that is documented, and I'll do this example, I'll say someone is a 7. So what you'll do is just go through this list here, And as you go through, you get a total score. And whatever that score is, you want to come across to the right-hand side, and that's going to give you the exit ready scorecard. And here's the humbling part on this, is that if your score is under 80, your business is undercooked. That's an important thing. What I see is most people, when they come to us, which are good, solid seven-figure businesses, they usually are in the 40 to 60 range. So they're usually in this category here, and they go, I know it's kind of good, but it's not quite good enough. So this would kind of be normal, but you're not going to get any kind of traction on the business, at least until you're getting to 80 and above. So just know that that's a normal place to go. So even though this area here might be normal, it's not ready. And here's the chili powder. If you're not at least 80 or higher, you won't get the valuation or the serious dollars that you're thinking you're gonna get. Under 80, you're undercooked. Now, look, the score isn't here to make you feel bad. It's here to make you dangerously clear on what to fix first in the next 24 months. So it's about clarity first. Then what we do is we build the chunks from there. And here's the part that most people miss. The score doesn't affect the exit readiness right away, straight then. What it does is it affects what a buyer is willing to pay, because it changes the multiple on which they're going to pay the business. And the multiple is determined by risk. That's what we're going to cover next. Most founders think that the valuation is all about the revenue, and it is not. The revenue is a component, but the valuation is largely often based on the multiple. And the multiple moves based on the risk and its growth potential. So let's go through and let's talk through this simple equation and formula. And that is this. And that is the valuation of a business equals the revenue, and depending on the industry, could be profit as well, times by a multiple. And most people forget the multiple. Now, when we think about this, the money is important. And when we're talking about the money, okay, what are we talking about here? We're talking about things like, yes, revenue. Yes, we're talking about profit there. And depending on the industry will depend on what they're going to base that on. But the lever that really changes the outcomes fast is the multiple. So let's talk about the multiple. The multiple on a business goes up or down depending on one thing, and that is risk. So what we need to have a look at is, what is the risk in the business? How fragile is a business without the founder? So let's go through some examples of risk, and let's talk about some everyday things that you would know. So what are some things you want to think about? Well, you think about owner dependency. How much of the business is a bit of a octopus syndrome, where there's one brain and lots of tentacles and everything sucks? Or is it key person dependent? Is that a problem? It is looking at the financials. Are they properly written out? Are they high visibility and what on the financials? Most don't. Is it kind of messy between their personal and also the business? Is there are people treating their business like a personal ATM machine? Happens all the time. Looking at the business assets. What's the structure of those assets, including IP and IT? They're really important things, as well as your physical assets. When we look at here, we also want to look at what arrangements do you have with your suppliers, and also some of your customers. Are they informal arrangements, are handshake arrangements, or do you have something written out? The other thing in here that really kind of determines, and a lot of times it starts from the very beginning, and that is overarching the structure of the business and how well it's actually been set up in the company, or trust structures, whatever that's right for you. But most are not actually set up properly for exit and not set up for tax incomes. Okay, so that's the risk, and that's on the downside. Now we're going to look at, well, what's the upside? So if someone's going to purchase a business, they're going to go, well, what's my growth potential in the business? So what are some things that can help influence the growth potential? And there's some of the things that you'd be thinking about is, can the business grow? Can it expand without becoming chaotic? So you're thinking about key things on here. How teachable is the business? How easy is it to pass on, particularly the delivery component, to other people in your team? So if someone was to leave, you can put someone back in there. Next question here is, how valuable is the product. And what we mean by that is the client going, or the customer going, hey, I really want that thing. It's something that's of value, is better I say, think about it, of value to them. So whether the market goes up or down, they're still going to want to go and still want to use your service. And the next part there, how repeatable is it? And we're thinking about repeatable here. What we're thinking about here is how easy is it for you to churn this thing out, or does it require the individual brilliance of one person to make it happen? Is it built around something that can scale beyond the founder? That is the question that they're asking. So if you look at it, that's the formula for evaluation of business. Now let's come back to what we talked about here. Under 80 on the score on here, businesses typically get way lower multiples than what people actually want. Well, once you're in the 80 plus territory, you move into a completely different stratosphere and a completely different multiple bracket. And that's a big deal, not only for the valuation of the business, but it also means it's far more exitable, and it becomes, and the good thing about when you get 80 plus, you can actually aim now for what we call a strategic exit. And a strategic exit, you get a disproportionately higher multiple than what most people would expect for your industry. So even if you never sell, when you increase the value of the business, which is very much around the multiple, which we're going through, you're going to increase the valuation. And here's an interesting thing. Most people, when they look at this and they go, right, I get that, that's when I sell my business. But what if you were to sell your business to the future you? What if you're the future buyer? You create a business. We've done this so many times. People say, I'm going to sell my business. This is the thing I'm going to do. And we get to the place where they don't need to be in it. And they go, this thing's spitting off cash. I don't need to be in it. It's still expanding and I don't need to be here. Why would I want to sell this? If I sell it, I'm selling the goose that's laying the golden eggs. Because what you also want to consider is you can go to the bank with this here and this formula, with what you've built with your revenue, but also showing this part here. You can borrow off that. Literally borrow off that, which you can then use in investing in other areas. So you've really created a true asset. You don't need to lift the valuation by trying harder though. You lift it by reducing the risk and building a business with these 3 points that you can grow without you. So my hot tip here is stop guessing. Stop guessing what your business is worth. Try and do all that sort of stuff. Build what the market will pay, especially by building it so you build an amazing business with a high multiple. The next question is obvious. What's the fastest thing you can do over the next 24 months to make sure you can increase the valuation of the business? There are 3 things that you want to be doing on that. And that is, yes, number 1 is to look at how you can increase the revenue and the profitability of the business. The second thing is, in this category of how do I increase the multiple, is to look at number 2, how can I reduce the risk in the business? And then the third thing is, what can I do with its growth potential to grow? And these are the 3 drivers that are going to increase the value, but most importantly, the valuation of the business. And as a byproduct of that, it's going to create a business that's far more exitable. There are 3 things that make a business exitable. Miss one, and you're going to feel it. You feel it in stress, you feel it in cash, you're going to feel it in owner dependence. So let's go through them. Let's talk about the first one. And driver 1 is revenue resilience. So what are some components about that to help you to create an even more exitable business? Now, one of the key components, which we talked about a little bit earlier, is recurring and repeatable revenue. It doesn't have to be the only piece, but it is a really key piece. Now, one of the parts in here as well is a lot of people in the revenue resilience, they rely on what I call one big customer. And a big customer is anything over 15% of the revenue of business. One big supplier that does most of the suppliers. One big product, and that's all it is. Or one key team member. It's like the worst number to have in a business, because with the number 1 is any day it could be a 0. Even if it's a 0, at least you know it. But a 1 is a catastrophe waiting to happen. Let's jump into driver 2. Now, driver 2 is all around operational systems. The business must operate without the owner being there, especially if you want to exit it and especially if you want to have a decent value or valuation of the business. So what are some components in here? Systems and documentation, what they do is they help to make all the knowledge that's in people's heads and put it down so it's captured, and that's a really important part of the business. And what this does is stops the business being fragile. Fragile, if someone leaves, oh my God, we've got, how do we fix that? We're going to fix that. How do we put it into place? Or when you're stepping back and there's a bit of a hole there, and it's all captured in your brain. Now, driver three is all around market momentum. Now, in this category here, we're not talking about marketing for leads. What we're doing is creating a buyer buzz and creating future demand for you and for your business. What we're going to do, and it's usually 2 years out, we're going to plant seeds along the way for potential buyers. This is how you create an exitable business. Most people go, oh, I'm going to exit my business. They put up for sale, and then they go, why am I not getting enough people on here? What we want to do is we want to create a bidding war. So you're not having to manufacture interest at the end. Oh yeah, can you please sell my business? It's like what you want to do is you want to have a stack of people and you want to have almost like an auction where there's all these people that want to buy the business. Now, the only way to do that is to build market momentum in the business so it looks attractive before you need it to be attractive. So part of things in there is understanding your brand and your brand viable, even having some PR, some awards. These are all parts of helping to create market momentum. Also in there is looking at partnerships and understanding how you can get some strategic alliances nice and early. And this is why good revenue, I'm doing good revenue, can still feel super unsafe because there's a resilience that is lost. There's no resilience in the systems, they're not there. So the risk stays high. And the truth is every owner knows, they know that if they weren't there, and the question to ask yourself is really simple. How long could you go on a holiday, no email, no phones, and the business still survive and actually thrive? That's the big question for you to ask. And the number of days, weeks, or months is going to determine very much how these pieces are going to come together and very much the value or the valuation that you'll have for the business. Now, here's where most owners get trapped. Even when they improve these three things, they forget one thing, and that is they don't get freedom here because they haven't changed what role they are playing inside the business. But these are the three drivers to help create an exitable business. So if you want help diagnosing where you're at because you're feeling it's a bit undercooked and you want to know, well, what do I need to work on first? Then the simplest thing to do is to click on the link below and book a growth driver call with us now, and we'll get you sorted and get you on a plan to create an exitable business in the next 24 months. Most owners don't have a business. They've got a high risk job, but with a lot of payroll that goes with it. Now, here's the truth. If you want to exit a business, you want to create an exit business, there are 4 very distinct roles for you to go through. Let's go through and mark them out. So if you look at a business, there are 4 very distinct roles that we play, and it's not about, yes, I just go exit my business. What we want to do is walk through each of these steps. So let's start with the first one. And the first role that you have when you're starting out is the worker. So you're in there making things happen. Think about the early stage of the business. Usually the business is unsustainable at that point because it's early days. You're making money, you're getting what we call a proven concept. And often people, when they're in that stage, they get tired as well, which is okay. It's a stage. It's a stage of the business. Then the second place is what they get to, they graduate from a worker to building some team, putting that place, and now they become a manager of the business. Now, a couple of distinguishing points from a worker to a manager. You've got some team in here, but one of the currencies that's really important is the business has gone from being unprofitable to being profitable. Now, you know you're a manager particularly in the fact that during the day you're working in the business and during the night you work on the business. The problem with managers is they just get tired. They get burnt out and they get adrenal fatigue. So that takes us through to the next stage. And this is a really important step that we're going to take here. But we go from being a manager now, and now we're going to being the CEO of the business. Now, the difference here, where we're driving the revenue and the profit of the business here, in CEO, the currency we're now looking at is time and your ability to leverage as much as you possibly can, and that's that level in CEO. So we're going to move from manager to being CEO. And then the last step here is taking yourself from being CEO to being on the board of the business. And when you're on the board, what you're doing is you're taking the investor mindset here. Because here's the truth. Every single person, doesn't matter who it is going to exit their business. It doesn't matter who it is. You're going to kick the bucket. You're going to sell. You're just going to close it. You're going to merge, acquire another business, or management buyout, or any of the above, or combination of. So what we know is that these are four very distinct phases. And what happens is most people get stuck down here. In fact, the statistic is very simply that literally 98% of people get stuck at this point here. And this is what we call the good operator place. 98% sit here. And anyone who's in our space, in the advisory space, can help you get to this level. But crossing across this part here is where the real key is. And this here is what we call the leverage line. The leverage line is where all the juice happens. All the parts I've gone through already are the things that are going to help you to cross over the leverage line. And the big change is we're going from, yes, driving income, and we're going to how do we enhance your time. The currency is not just money now, it's actually looking at how we're leveraging you and leveraging your time. Interesting enough, in the board level, what we're now looking at that space there is we're looking at impact. And what we mean by impact there is impact to you, impact to your clients, and impact and to your team, and then to your clients at large, which means that you've got a business that's of high value that gets you to a place to being an investor. So the key part of this leverage line in this spot here is your ability to leverage your time. The key with this is underneath this, the business runs a dependency on you. And here's the killer part that can have a little bit of ouchiness on this. The more valuable you are to the business down here, then the less valuable is the business. And that's the killer. Because a lot of people think, oh, I'm going to exit one day, I'm just going to get in, I'll exit and I'll sell my business. But what exit is really is going through a specific set of a sequence of changing roles from worker to manager, CEO, to being a board member, and then ultimately be an investor. And if you can't step your way through this, you're never going to exit anything. And if you do, it's going to be for a very reduced multiple. And you're going to get, what ends up happening is people just get trapped. They get trapped in a role. So keep in mind, exit isn't an event. Exiting is a sequence. And the thing that stops people making those exit, it's not their intelligence. It's understanding a thing we call ownership. And I don't mean like equity ownership. What I'm talking about is the responsibility ownership. And that's where the 6 engine room system comes in. That's what we're going to go through now. If your name is on everything, that's not leadership, that's a bottleneck. A business is built on the 6 engine room system. So I want to take you through the 6 engine rooms. The first engine room is vision and leadership. The second engine room is product innovation. That is how we're refining and defining, how we're making sure that the product is adapting to the marketplace that's moving. Once we've done that, then we need to get out and we need to market it. We call that, for us to summarize that, that's lead generation. Once you've got the leads coming in, then what we're going to do is we're going to sell the product that we've got here, and that gets us into sales. Once we've got the sales happening, then we're going to deliver. And for us, we like to call it customer success or client success, but I'll just call it delivery. And the last engine room is operations. And when you're building a business, you want to build it in this direction. So you're building in this order. Now, that there, when we talk about going that way, that's when you're in the pioneering phase of business. And then once you've built that up, and generally speaking in the pioneering phase is anything when a business is under $2 million, it's usually in the pioneering, making sure each of these engine rooms are working. Then once we've gone through in that direction, to exit the business and going through these responsibilities, what we do is we go in this direction, and this is what we call scaling. Now, what's really important when we look at this here is looking at each of these engine rooms, because ultimately each one of these engine rooms needs to have one captain for the team. And I have stacks of people who argue all the time, oh, we'll just share this role here. There'll be a few of us, two or three of us will get in and it'll all be fine. No. One person needs to be accountable. The buck needs to stop with someone. Now, one thing I would say in this, a lot of people think, oh, does that mean I need to have C-suite, 150, 200 grand people for each of these roles? No. If you're a business under 24 people in your team, you're definitely not. You just need to have one person who is accountable. And here's an important point. If everyone owns it, then no one owns it. And if no one owns it, then you own it. So here's the question. Go through right now in these 6 engine rooms and put down the initials of the one person who's ultimately accountable for each of these. And if it's shared or it's not defined, then guess what? Your initials are the ones that are going here. Now, be honest when you go on here. This is a reality check of where you're actually sitting. And understanding this is how your business can start running without you, because we can be far more prescriptive around where the actual bottleneck is. So now we know this, we can now understand where the ownership lies. We can build the systems and we can build the rhythm around those people so that engine room can operate without you. Now, here's the truth. If everything roots back to you, you don't have a business. You have an emergency service or a call center where you're the person who's on the call all the time. So what we've just taken you through right now is the 24-month plan in plain English. We've diagnosed at the beginning what it is that's undercooked in the business. Then we went through and we talked about how we can lift the multiple of the business by reducing risk and increasing the growth potential. Then the next thing we went through was the 3 drivers of a business. And then the last bit there, we talked about the different roles in the business, going all the way from the worker all the way to being up and being the investor. And the last little piece that helps to bring it all together is understanding the ownership structure of each of these engine rooms so that you do not become the bottleneck. I know for all this hard work and energy and effort you put in, nobody likes hearing that their baby is ugly. But the truth, and knowing where you really are, is what gives you options. And if you want to chat about how you can make your business far more exit ready, so you can build a real asset that can work without you, that can increase in value, but also in valuation, then all you need to do is to book a growth driver call with us and we'll get you sorted. Exit ready, keep in mind, doesn't mean you have to leave the business. It means that you finally can if you want to. You have options.